you today to share this poem. It's called Poetry is a Shapeshifter. Poetry must be a singer. To remain relevant, poetry must be liquid. It must penetrate many crevices of society, must present itself in many genres and on many platforms, must raise its head from traditional ideas, modes, and venues, must cling within the souls of artists, but race to merge with the souls of the people. Poetry must be unafraid, bold. Poetry must sing. Poetry must embrace multidimensionality and multi-genreality, must be liberal but fierce in its disciplines, must have a champion, must speak history, must be indiscreet, must be tactless, falling downstairs like a toddler, slipping into ravines like a dancer on high alert, forgetting the words but remembering the way. Poetry must be improvised from years of preparation, must be improvised from the genetic memory. Poetry must be. Poetry must be. Poetry must be politic, must have muscles, must bend low to serve the people, not just aggrandize a poet. Poetry must have a big heart and a great sense of humor, must travel light, but bring with it invisible cables of lineage, culture, resistance, and resilience. Poetry must speak for everyone. Her duty must not be to factions. She should know the Tongva, the Gabrielino, the Mexican, the Spanish. She should not speak for only one segment of the population, but for the German, the Irish, the Jewish, the Congolese, the Hmong, the Japanese, the Ethiopian, the Laotian. The poet should speak from the depths of poverty and from the hope of a just wealth. She should speak from the streets and from the salon. The poet's hair, if she has hair, her arms, if she possess them, her eyes, if they be, must belong to her, though they be recycled from 100 other sources. From these vessels and others, she must give nourishment to a people. The poet should know the land. She should understand Chavez Ravine and Dodger Stadium and speak with mercy and generosity towards both civic realities. She must stretch imaginations, causes, firmaments, and destinies to search out justice, amendments, reparations, forgivenesses, accords, and ultimate brother and sisterhood. She must not be pigeonholed by politics, but must use politics to resound fervent truths, to share place, and to remember hope. The poet must understand the complexities in history, yet not be bound only by their sacred facts and feelings. The poet must be led by the ominous possibilities of universal evolution, must light new imaginings for change, must sing towards new roads, must help forge new alliances, and even new friendships from broken promises. The poet should live here, in this gloriastic chasm, somewhere between student and teacher, shaman and servant, magician and fool. The poet must dance here and bow to all dissemblers and non-believers. She must perseverate when others pack up their rags and go home, must stand in the dark alone and wait on her own dime, on her own frayed edges, must cry but never give out, must go longer and stronger, Chiron, searching endlessly for answers, salves, the objects and means of healing. Because poetry must not be pigeonholed. It must embrace all segments of the population. The Russian, the Italian, the Yemeni must know multiple layers of histories and see possibilities, not roadblocks. Poetry must not be pigeonholed to stand on a platform only for one kind of person, group, or thought alone. Poetry must stand, voiced and supported by the ancestors, comfortable in a boardroom or a soup kitchen, ready in a classroom, breathless on an airplane, perched on the back of a tractor, dancing at a used car lot, waiting in the wings, praying in a dirty bus station. Poetry must mean these things and be these things and make these things and honor these things without a shred of pandering and with all of her heart. We must travel light, but travel like lightning. We must bring the force of light with us. We must have stamina, strength, hope, vision, vigilance, greatest sight. We must be able to speak from the memory of place, through our personal trauma, for untapped dreams only dared in crossed fingers and quick breaths. It is essential that the poet be a mixed person, maybe even dropped on her head once or twice. Maybe her father left or stayed but couldn't speak, and another language had to be met. Or maybe her mother was a circus rider, or she went to the pictures instead of calculus class, or maybe her teeth were knocked in, or maybe she spent all of 3rd grade laid up in orthopedic hospital, or maybe she saw a man beaten on a corner out of the corner of her eye and she never disremembered. It is essential that the poet live in this liminal place of the wholeness of humanity. If the poet can be a person of multiple heritages, with allegiances to all, if the poet can be college educated, if the poet can be someone who experienced prison, if the poet can be a world traveler, a seamstress, a high school dropout, if the poet can live out of her car or on the beach, if she knows Dante's Trail, the Magic Castle, the Palatero in Boyle Heights, Hop Louie's, the Saugus Cafe, Llano del Rio, Jeffrey's in Malibu, Angel's Flight, the Red Car, the La Brea Tar Pits, the Farmer's Market before the Grove, Ray Bolger's dance at Good Shepherd Church, what the 3rd Street Promenade looked like before 1995, where Tony Curtis filmed in Los Feliz, the California Incline, Lamert Park, and the World Stage, when you could swim in Santa Monica, the South Central Farm. If the poet can know, if the poet can remember, if the poet can sing, if she can be an old man and a young woman, if he can be an old woman and a young man, because poetry must be. Poetry must be. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah!